At the door of the police station were hit with such force that the sound went through me, and at the very first time, I saw Danielle Walker's staggering steps backwards, as if someone had pulled the ground from under him. A horn blew in the street. The red lights exploded in my head. And I got it before any of this to say, in a word, the operation was finished, turned into a disaster. I just ran. I was supposed to have been left in. I was supposed to be gone for a while. But I ran on, because I've had a camera in his hand, and with the curse, the blood of the one who has a channel, with the need to record the time when it all breaks down. And then I saw it, leaning against the wall, motionless, as if his body was here, and for the soul she had run away to someplace safe. The face is pale. Your eyes are stuck to a point where I couldn't see it. Haley Carter. And when one of them called out your name there at that moment, but as the one who accuses you, I swear the air was heavy. It was not a cry. It was a sentence. It was her. At the moment, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I thought you had come up with the perfect ending. I thought, ready to go. And this is where I'll reveal everything. I had thought that the truth was going to fall into my lap, and there on the sidewalk with a built-in siren, chaos, and justice. It's just the fact it has not fallen. She was gone. And the one who has fallen into place for her, it was something else. Something far worse. The hatred of the ready packaged with the correct address. Because in a matter of seconds, and the city was no longer trying to figure out where it all went wrong, in the city, I was looking for a face to download the movie. And you can guess what her face was. It was the easiest. On the face of the daughter of a criminal. I saw the eye go towards the blade. I have seen many people who have never raised her voice. You begin to spit out sentences such as if I was being tested. I saw a woman across the street, pulling a child on the pro side. It's as if the mere presence of Haley, it was contagious. And then there was the part that looks like a lie, but it was exactly like this. Derek Walker. She looked straight at me, through the midst of the chaos, and the move is only for the lips, without a sound, without the drama, as if he were speaking to a password. Let's not tell you. At that moment, I felt like I was going to have to tell you the whole story now. I was going to open up the game and you end up with a scam in 5 minutes. But I couldn't, because it was shortly after that, and I realized that I, too, became a target. And if we give it all here, in the beginning, I shot that the city has tried to take away from it. You the chance to see step by step how a lie becomes the truth when everyone else repeats it at the same time. So, I'm going to take you with me, since this is the second one, the second most critical. And I am going to show you how to use a deputy sheriff, was suspended as the word became a sentence, and how as the name of it was turned into a whisper. Never lock the doors and changing points of view. But in the past, I need to do something simple in the way that I make here on the channel. If you sign up right now, because that's all I'll reveal at the end, is not a theory, is not a visit. It's the kind of story that can change the way you see people, a small city in, and the power. And share this video with anyone who loves a mystery and a twist. Why? When's the last piece to fit in? You'll find out that I was you pulling me into this night with me. I've always been the face of the channel. It does not accept the story in half, you know? I'm not the type who reads the title, is the face of the horror of going away. I'm the guy who picks up the bag, turn on the camera and Pisa, where the whole of the world to avoid stepping on. Because I have learned one thing. You have places where the truth appears only when you breathe in the same air to fuel. And that's the way I've heard of Redwood Falls. In my mind, it was just a small town with a big secret. I just had a minor detail. One detail that sticks in the mind and doesn't let go. A sheriff known to be incorruptible. Ethan Walker, who had been suspended after an operation that went wrong. And usually, when that happens, you know what it's like. The people of Point Pro Police and called incompetent, he requires his head. Just that right there, it's different. No one was blaming him. The city was chosen a different target. It. And tell me one thing, and looking straight to you, from now on, when was the last time you saw a crowd to agree on is so quick to hate someone? No evidence, no trial, no pause, just for all the world knows, and you're done. Ever seen this happen? Have you ever felt that kind of unanimity, which seems to manufactured? Because that's exactly what I felt when I first started to pull the preliminary information. Haley, in a sense, that's 19 years old. Not the police, not a researcher, not an official part of anything. Just a girl with tired eyes. Carrying the last name is the weight of a name which the city whispered to him with a disgusted Raymond Carter. And now I want you to understand one thing. There is no one, she is the daughter of him. It was the worst. It was as if, for the city, it was a piece of him running around. As if the crime was not a shadow. The shadow had taken her body to move. I've come to Redwood Falls at the camera in the bag, and it is a question of hammering in my head. And I want you to feel like this is a question to me, because it's the key to it all. As a city with the whole pick a person to hate you, I swear to you, I thought that it was going to be easy. I felt like I was going to say half a dozen, compare versions, put together a jigsaw puzzle, and you submit a video to be strong. But I was not prepared to what has happened in the first place, the more harmless as possible, in a coffee shop near the road. I pushed open the door, and in the air had changed. You know when you go into a place and you feel it before you hear it, that something has gone wrong? It was like that. It was not the silence of normal. It was quiet, heavy, the silence that you measure, the silence that question, the question of who you are without having to open your mouth. The conversation had stopped in the middle of a sentence. A man held onto the mug with the strength of the other, as if that would be the only thing standing between him and the city. The lady looked at me as if I were a note on the bad coming, and then someone else, and a low, almost without moving his lips, he said, a phrase that to this day I listen to them, as if he was whispering in my ear. You came to talk to you about it? It goes away as you take a long time. And I have to ask you this question. If someone said this in real life, would you go away? Or would you do what I have done to you? Because I did. I got it because I'm stubborn, yes we do. I got it because I was curious, yes. But that's mainly because I hadn't yet understood the first rule of the city. There, the truth is, it was not a fact. The truth is, it was a choice. The truth of it was an agreement to quiet. The truth was, the one thing that of the people decided to believe in, and repeated, until it becomes a reality. They had already decided, before I could ask anything else, before it appears. That's Haley. Carter was the one to blame. And when I realized this, I felt a cold. I want you to now imagine this. What if one day the city decided to do this to you? I'm going to have to tell you a version that is all over the world, in Redwood Falls, repeating it as if it were a prayer. And I want you to pay close attention to not only what is said, but in a way that is said to you, because you have stories that are born ready to buy into it. They said that Sheriff Ethan Walker has received information that hot, for those who don't expect it in the morning. A cache is connected to both each other, a street address, for a time. A plan is closed, the cool early morning. The team will be present, the route design, everything appears round. And tell me, how many times have you ever heard of the phrase before it all went wrong? Because that's exactly where the story begins to crack. Something that was out of control. A leak. A detail was too small to turn around in the news, but it's big enough to destroy everything. A delay of just a few minutes, the minutes of the plan, the police, and saw a bottomless abyss. When the car arrived, the place was empty. No movement. None, I suspect. No response at all. Just the smell of dry dust into the air, and a door kicked in by swinging slowly to you. And that felt so strange. It almost offensive that someone had been there just seconds before and looked at everything, laughing on the inside. All I can think of. Do you ever feel like when you're in a scene that appears to be clean, too? As if it wasn't a failure. It was removed. And from then on, nothing was ever about what really happened. It was about who was going to pay. The crash has generated an immediate impact. In the fast lane, surgery. The sheriff was out of the office, without the advocacy of the public. No time to explain, no room for doubt. And then came the scary part. The rumor started to spread faster than facts, as if they were waiting only for a sign to get out of this place. And then, all of a sudden, her name is turned into poison. She's the one who warned us about. She told me about Daddy. She asks him. It was really good. I've heard these phrases being repeated with conviction that gave me chill. It was not us. Suspicious. There were people saying,
as if he had seen it with his own eyes, as if he had the proof in his hands.
I ask, looking straight at me. You know how many times it's a lie must be repeated to win real one? Because here, no one had any proof, no one had any record, no one was a witness to the real one, but you had to be sure. And so, for me, it was the first of the big toes. An ex-agent, but someone who had seen bad things in his life, said something to me that was echoing around in my head for days. It doesn't matter if she did or not. The city had a face to account for that fear. To take a second and think about this with me. Don't want it to be true. Just need to work out. And it works because it's on when the crowd is in a target. The logic goes. The question goes. The ability to empathize with others. What it is another thing. The hunger. Hungry for a breath of fresh air. Hungry for control. Hungry for someone else to point the finger and say, "It was you." And from that day on, I realized that the fall of the sheriff was not the main event. It was just the fuse. Because that's the real breakdown was going on inside the heads of the people, and someone who didn't really know how to use it. When I met Haley, in a sense, I didn't see it in a different location. I saw someone trying to disappear within a walking, no running, no yelling, how to stay invisible, to be the last one living. She was on the outside of a small market small, of those who seemed to be forgotten in time, on a street that had a gray, permanent, even in the sun, the kind of place where the day goes on, but it doesn't change anything. She held up a small bag with the strength of others, as if it were the only thing that kept him tied to reality. And I want you to imagine the scene with me. How many times has someone holding an object therefore when, in fact, is trying to hold on to their own identity? By the time I got close to you, with that attitude control of the one who has a channel and telling stories, she raised her gaze, only said, in a dry, no anger, no emotion in it, which is even worse. If you're here to accuse me of it also, save the energy. I picked up a lot, because there was no defense. He was tired, and I told him the only thing that made sense at the time. I'm here to listen. She laughed, but it was not the laugh of a breath of fresh air. It was one of laughter, broken, bent, which is created when a person has ever cried so much that you don't remember how to cry right. And then she began to speak. And as she spoke, and I noticed something scary, she had already practiced this pain all alone so many times. Since the house was asleep, everything has changed. Your eyes changed with the first one, along with the behind closed doors, some of which is on the face of polite, but it closed down in the same way. Your friends are starting to fade away, one by one, as if they had never existed. And it works. It just evaporated. All of a sudden, she was no longer Haley. She was the daughter of Raymond Carter. And I want you to think about me for a second. What's left of a person when it is no longer good enough? When your last name becomes a sentence? When's the last of the other turn on your hearing? She looked at me straight in the eyes and let out a sentence that moved through me like a knife because he no longer had a drama and only the truth. I have learned that love is here. It's a contract. If you fail to comply with the role that they expect to, you off. At that moment, I felt angry. The anger is real. For those who get hot for the cover and tighten the jaw. Because it's one thing to hate is a crime. For another thing, it's completely different. It is a transfer that hatred I, the only one who carries the blood, is not in the choices. And right now, I'm going to leave it here because I need you with me on this. Not just as a spectator, but as a part of the story. Reply in the comments, in fact, not thinking that it's nice to say, do you think a person needs to pay for what the family has done? Type yes or no and tell me why. I can promise you one thing. This is the response that you provide now. It's going to be put to the test when you get to the what this city has done to her since then. I got to talk to him on registration because I was stubborn, and it's because deep down I felt that he needed to talk to. It was a simple house, just outside of the city. The porch light blinked on as the electricity was tired. And when he had opened the door, I saw a man who didn't sleep right. It was weeks ago. And do you know what was the first thing he said to you? You don't understand. I've lost more than a job title. I was quiet for a while. He told me that the operation has failed only by a lack of skill. It has failed because of someone messed up in the piece. Someone else has the gear to get choked up. And when you do it with the police, you have two options. Or was the murderer, or was it someone from the inside out? I felt my heart speed up, and he said, "And you know the worst thing? I don't know who to trust. I've wondered about the Haley, Carter." He was silent for a time. It seemed like it was too long. Then he said, "It's not what the city thinks." I asked him, "Then why are you not calling her?" And he said the one thing that I froze, "Because I've also become a target." And in that moment, I understood the first rule of Redwood Falls. Here's the truth won't save you, the truth and condemns it. I started out with the record evidence, the people on the street, the owners of the store, drivers, teachers, even in a pastor's. The pattern was always the same. Everyone knew that the Haley Carter that I had to do a thing, but no one could tell what to be sure. It was always, I heard it say, to have told that. And that's more frightening than it might seem, because when you blame is built well, it turns into a cloud of toxic. It comes in under the door. It stands in the air. It will stick to the skin. I've seen this happen in one small detail, the last name. They called it the echo. I asked him why. One guy said, "Because whatever the father does, back there, that gave me motion sickness." I went to a bar in the center of these music downloads and indicator lights yellow, and I heard a man say, he was supposed to be gone for a while when he had the chance. And I think to myself, is it even had a chance? Or is it that the city was going to pull it back, like to blame it on a leash? And then came the first big surprise, that it almost made me turn off the camera. A woman pulled me by the arm and led me to the back of the bar and said very quietly, "Do you think people hate her because she told her father?" No, the people that he hates her because she knows something that we can't give it up. At the time, and I felt my body shiver, because that changed everything. If only she knew. So as the city, I wasn't just angry with him. It was out of fear. Later that night, I went back to the hotel to cheap to where I was. I have the recordings in the computer. I sat down on the bed, and the phone rang again. The message from the unknown number, with just 2 lines. "So, or you going to regret it?" I read it at a time. Both of them. 3 of them. And on Wednesday, I realized my hand was shaking, because it's not a threat to the internet. It was not the comment of a hater. It was the feeling that someone was close enough for me to reach. I got up, closed the curtain and looked through the keyhole, as if I were going to see a mysterious man in the parking lot. And in that moment, I thought to myself, I'm going to leave. Just that. That was when I remembered you. Don't you into specific, but you know me, you watch it. I was reminded as to why I have created this channel to tell the stories that no one wants to face. I made up my mind that if I was going to keep going, I want it. A community to me. So, I'm going to give you way more strong as it can be, because this isn't just entertainment sign up now. Seriously. Because when you sign up, you are showing that you want more stories like this, and you will give me the strength to go through with it, even when the end seems too dangerous. And stay with me until the very end, because that's all I found out. After that, I was just so absurd that I almost didn't believe it. I've marked to find Haley. Carter knew. She didn't want to. She said that in order to talk to me, just got to her. I said, yeah, I know, but I don't think that you're not using it. It was quiet on the other side of the phone. And then I said, okay, but it's quick. We found a place that seemed to be neutral, a laundry room and 24-hour. The machine turns, the smell of the soap, and constant noise that engulfs the conversation. It's perfect for anyone who wants to listen to you. She came in with a hoodie and a notebook, the old man in his hand, and so it was a surprise. She handed me the paper. Read this and tell me if I deserve to be hated. I opened it, and I've seen pages and pages of notes, dates, names, license plates from the car, and email addresses. It seemed like every day, but it wasn't a feeling. It was crawling. I looked at her. That's your dad? She shook her head. No. This is yours? She took a long breath. It's him. I almost let the notebook fall down. She explained that prior to being suspended, Derek Walker, I was delving into something much greater than that in the case of my father's house. Much bigger than any one operation. And then, for some reason, he trusted her, a part of it. And I said, why not? She said, because I was the only one that had anything to anyone else in this town. And I could feel your stomach turn. Because the house is placed on the investigation in the hands of her, and then it was just a scapegoat. She was in a safe deposit box. and someone was trying to open the safe by force. In the middle of the book, there is a memory card is stuck to the tape. I looked at it, not understanding. She said, "It was in a box of things from him. It's not explained to me. Only said, if I fall down, it's the only thing that is the test." I put the card in my laptop, and then there came the sound. I reproduce it here as proof, because that you tell in this story, as I have, and I will not expose details that put people at risk, but I can tell you that I have never heard before. This was a conversation between two people. A voice I recognized. Then it was someone connected to the city. The rest seemed to be someone of your own design for the safety of the city. The subject was to arrest a criminal. It was to control the narrative. It was, who is the city you need to hate? It was, how do you keep the people scared enough to obey? I had to stop the audio, and I was left staring at the screen as if I had taken from her, because I always knew what the rumors are. That gossip will destroy them. But then, it was as if the hatred of it was planned, as if the city were to the stage, and the daughter of the murderer, and the character is just perfect. I want you to know one thing from you, and he comments on it, because you don't want the truth. Do you think there's a place where fear is managed for the purpose? Do you think that you can make in a god or public enemy? Write in the comments what you think, because soon I'm going to make you doubt everything. I've had a personal rule. In a small town, you do not trust quickly. Even so, I needed to get someone in place. It was then that it came in the Mason Reed. He's a guy, 30, and a few years ago, Easy Smile, who had been working on the trailer. He approached me as the one who just wants to help. You are the face of your channel, right? I will watch it. Do I have to tell you a few things? I was supposed to be a cynic in the second, he said. I will stand. But I'm tired. I'm looking forward to it under pressure. I wanted to speed up. So, I let him into my circle. He took me to places that I wouldn't have had access to, a side road, in a house abandoned in a shed by the river. He spoke with the details too much, as if you're decorating on a story. And it was here that the detail first appeared. He always used the same words over and over, every time, as if someone else had written it for him. At first I thought it was manic, but then I was reminded of the audio, to control the narrative, and I've started to notice a pattern yet a more sinister. Every time I asked about the house Charlie Walker, Mason Reed, off. Every time I have asked the father to her, Raymond Carter, and he gave it a name that is different from the Contact Us section. And for a moment, and I said, who is he that saw it close to the operation? He answered, way too fast. No one has seen, but you know that. That gave me quite a shock. Because of this sentence, it's similar to a phrase that I heard in the bar. The same, as if that was the slogan, as if it were to be repeated. And I realized, too late, that I had let someone go. Not for me, but you can't drive. The next day I woke up early with that bad feeling that something was going to happen. I walked in the parking lot of the hotel, and so when I saw my car, I congelé. It was not the glass broken. It was not a flat tire. It was not explicit. It was the worst. Someone had drawn it with the dust in the car, in a word, in the hood. You will, and bottom of the screen, with an arrow pointing to the road. I stopped for a few seconds, looking at it, trying to figure out the level of courage. That is, someone has to do it. Because of this, it is not vandalism. It's job done. It's, we know where you sleep. And I must confess, I thought I'd go for the new one. Just then, I remembered of Haley Carter. I was reminded of the book, and I think to myself, if I run away, I've abandoned her for the worst. So I deleted the word with your hand, but that feeling was, I want to ask you something. What would you do in my place? Would you go away? Or would you be and you could risk? He comments on this because I want you to understand as you might think. I managed to get a meeting with anyone from the district attorney's regional billings. I'm not going to mention the real name, for security, but it was a conversation that changed everything. I took it back to the book. I have defined the sound. I've been talking about the weather in the city, and on him is suspended about a girl being hunted by society. And that person said something to me that I didn't expect that. Raymond Carter have always been treated as very bad, but he never had any design to be very bad. I asked for an explanation. She said, it was useful to you. It was the kind of criminal. one that serves to justify certain things. It serves to move the money. It serves to keep people on the job. It serves to prove that you have to hand it lasts. I felt my stomach curdling. In other words, the father was not the king of the board. This was the part that was on the board there. And if that was true, and so is the suspension of a Dodge Charlie Walker, it was not an accident. It was the correction of the route. I came out of that conversation. One thing is certain, horrible. If I had continued, I was going to pull over on someone a lot bigger. And then, as if the universe wanted to confirm that I received another message to another phone number. At this time, only one line. You don't know who you're fidgeting. I remember looking at the phone and felt a desire unreasonable to laugh. Because it was absurd. Was the film too much? Just that. The one that came after it proved that it was not in the movie. It was the worst. I went to Redwood Falls at the end of the day. The sky was that color of the metal, you know. He is gray, which looks like it's going to fall on your head. I care for Haley, Carter. She answered it quickly. I can't talk about. I said, where are you going? She hesitated. I've heard from the other side. A sound of a door slamming. Then she said, they found him in the study. Or at least, they know who he is. My blood froze. I said, I'm going to go. She said, no, and hung up. I got in the car and drove off as if he was running away from me. I arrived at the address to which it was previously mentioned. Is a trailer for a simple, near a grove of trees. I was in the dark, too quiet. And then I saw the most frightening thing about that is you can be in a quiet street. A light turning on and off, as if it were a signal. It was not random. He was the rhythm. The 3 flashes, a pause, 2 blinks, a pause. I didn't understand it at the time. To remind you of him. The code easy. Call. I walked slowly, and the heart in his throat. And then when I got closer, I heard footsteps inside. I called her name down. Nothing. I have tried to open the door is locked. And then I heard behind me the sound of a twig breaking, and in the dark. I turned around quickly, and I saw a figure. That's it. A silhouette of a stop watching me. I'm not going to give you the details of the violent, because that's not what I do, but I'm going to tell you the feeling that exact. I've always felt that my life was being judged by someone who saw value in it. I backed away. The figure moved forward a step. And then, a lamp was lighted at the end of the road. A 4-wheel drive. And in that split second, I realized I was in the middle of something navy. I ran a pro in a car. The sound of footsteps sped up behind me. I walked in, turned it, pulled it up. A pickup truck came up from behind. And her hands were sweating. I thought to myself, this is it. Here is what I have paid the price. Just, all of a sudden, the car is not for me to follow. She paused, as if the goal was to pick me up, as the purpose was only to show me that you can. And this is the kind of horror that it is. I've found it, Haley. Carter, hours later, in an unlikely place. The public library is almost coming to a close. She was trembling, red-eye effect, but she didn't seem weak. It seemed determined. She pulled me up to the aisle between the shelves and said, I'm going to have to tell you, but you have to promise that you are going to be the end. I looked into her eyes and said, I will, I promise. She took a deep breath and said, my dad got out of the transaction. I felt her throat catch. So who you got? It took her a second, as if to say the name. It would be dangerous. And then she said, anyone in the city and is called the Christ. She explained to me that on the night before the operation, she saw something. Someone. A conversation is short-lived. In a speed dating. An envelope. With a shaking hand. She didn't understand at the time. But then, when it all went wrong, she realized the mistake she had the face of a plan. And then there was the sentence that he turned the knife. The sheriff found out. And that's why they took him. I asked him, why do they blame you? And she said, because if I'm put to blame, no one looks at the rest of it. And I stood still, trying to process it. It was the saddest thing, and smarter, while at the same time, it was the perfect shield. Right now, I want you to stop for a second and answer me in the comments. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? Or have you ever seen someone else being destroyed by the rumor mill? He said, of a truth. Because the way you answer will reveal if you've ever felt the weight of what she was feeling. I'm going to be careful here because you and I tell you how I made a living. And I'm not going to put the real names of the persons who can be dangerous, not to turn this into a map for someone else to do evil to someone else. I'm going to tell you the truth, the way it was for me. After the confession of Haley Carteret, I went back to the specification of the sheriff, Charlie Walker, with someone's head. I will read you the date. I came across your name. I realized that it wasn't a random list. It was a pattern. And the pattern that the evidence points to a central point. Persons local government. People who decide to contract. People that decide to market value. The people who decide who gets in and who is falling. And then I was reminded of the sound to control the narrative. It wasn't just about to arrest a criminal. He was about to keep the city as an organism that is obedient. And then there was the shock of the end. The surprise I promised you that you would not be aware of. The criminal, Raymond Carter. It wasn't just the bad guy. He was on the screen. It was the symbol, as an ever-present threat, as the story is ready to play. And when the curtain came down, when the sheriff came close to others, they would not be able to leave the stage to appear. Then it brought down the house. And they put the blame on her. Because it is a daughter. It is easier to destroy than to a structure as a whole. And do you know what was the most terrifying? Some of the more terrifying it was to realize that a lot of people in the city, it was believed entirely on the guilt of it. But I would prefer to pretend that it did, because it's more comfortable, and you have to take the blame than to face the truth. And when I realized this, I realized that I had received threats. Why won't my car has been flagged? For you, the pursuit came to be the way it happened. It was not meant to shut me up with the violence. It was for me to be silent out of fear. And here comes the last part, is the one that gives meaning to my start. On that day, at the police station, when I saw the ambulance and the sheriff coming down the stairs, and he was killed. He was putting the last of his strength to try and save someone who is in the city. I wanted to smash it. He looked at me, yes, me, and said only one sentence, and lower, as if it were a password, the account in the right way. And I'm doing it right now. Because a story like this doesn't end when the camera is turned off. They are always in the way we choose to react when you see someone turning into a target. So, I'm going to ask you for it all, with no shame, because this is my work, and at the same time, it's my mission to... If you subscribe to the channel right now, because I tell you the stories that affect what we believe to be the truth, and I want to have you in next video, have been with me from the beginning. Leave your like. It shows for the platform that you want more stories like this, and it helps me to reach more people who need to hear it. Comment below. Do you think that Redwood Falls, such a story, is just a city, or as a reflection of the world? Share this video with anyone who loves a mystery, and one which was already damaged, because at times, in a story told at the right time, to save a person from being destroyed by the silence. And now, and I'll tell you right now the last thing, and the way that I promised you at the beginning, it even has a bigger story behind it all. A story that I didn't tell it here, because it is a direct continuation, and it answers the question that I followed. He is the true owner of the fear? It's already popping up on your screen right now. Click to watch now, and I'll meet you there.